Right, now, so what's it all about? Well, today what we're going to be doing is having a brief introduction to good rehabilitation and care. You know, what does it mean? What's it all about? That Beth is going to take us through. And we'll focus in on that good rehabilitation, getting your views about what works at the moment and what's helpful. We'll be breaking up into small groups for discussions. And then at the end, we'll wrap up with our concluding thoughts and next steps. And really importantly, we'll finish in time because, as I said, you know, we're very appreciative of you taking the time to be here with us. And I can see a little heart floating up there, so that's good. So I think that was to do with the finishing on time. Right, so let's have a shot at using our question and answer thing on the on our slide. So when I go on to the next slide, hopefully you'll see it popping ahead on the slide with on your smartphone. And it's always good to share with people how you're feeling at the moment. So on this CAT scale, how are you feeling just now? And you can click how you feel. Oh my goodness, there's somebody who's feeling pretty exhausted. So give a, and if you press submit, when you take your choice, make your choice and then press submit, and it should go through. We can see that some folk are, oh, interesting. So that I think more folk are feeling number 3, which is the cat that's looking a little bit startled, a little bit maybe a little bit out there. And we've some folk feeling exhausted and so on. It looks like a number 7. So it's just fun to see how we are. Well, hopefully, as we get along here and you have a chance, I think it's so lovely to have a chance out of the day to come together with colleagues and to have a chat and hear what people are thinking. So we're hoping that you'll feel more energized by the end of our time together. So thanks for that. So that's good. So people are getting into the idea of using our kind of voting system and so on. So let's go along and see. We'd love to hear who's in the room, and perhaps you're with a particular service or your particular organisation. It'd be nice to hear a little bit more. Anything you'd like to share about where you work. For example, what parts of the country are you working in? Is it urban? Is it rural? Is it in a care setting? Is it a care service? So whatever you like, you can write your idea down and press submit. So whereabouts are you working? So I'm going to type in that I'm working in the care inspectorate, and you can see it popping up there. So that's what will happen to your words. So maybe you have something that you can add. Really nice to hear. There's somebody in the Scottish Government. Might be Beth or Bryony. Great. What's the weather like where you guys are as well? Somebody working with OT, somebody from Bonaccord Care, the care home in Ayr. Anything about the weather? What's it like where you are? Let's just. I'm hoping there's some sunshine in the country. Dreich, overcast, dull, raining again. Oh no! We definitely need some things to lift our spirits. And Anne-Marie, very welcome. West Dunbartonshire, Ayr, North Lanarkshire, Angus, and it's rainy. Okay. Well, one of the good things about coming together is hearing a bit more about our subject. So I'm going to pass you over to Beth. Beth, perhaps you'll be able to introduce yourself, and we're onto the section about focusing in on rehabilitation. What's it all about? So wait till I just put this forward for you, Beth, and I'll turn off my mic.
Thanks very much, Louise. So I'm Bet Locke, I'm AHP Professional Advisor in Rehabilitation at the Scottish Government, and my job is really to lead on the implementation of the Rehab framework. And I'm delighted that Bryony Murray is working with me, and we're working together on the implementation, and between the two of us we'll talk to a couple of slides and then help out with the discussion when we go into our small groups. But Bryony can maybe say a wee bit more about herself. So there was just a couple of things we would want to say, really to kind of start off the conversation about rehabilitation, because I guess people have different views of what rehab is. And we thought this triangle was maybe really helpful in giving a sense of the breadth of rehabilitation. So we've got a triangle that we've kind of turned on its head, because the specialist bit we've kind of put at the bottom. So people might think about rehabilitation as being that specialist bit, the stroke rehab, cardiac rehab, quite condition-specific rehabilitation carried out by, very specialist therapists, occupational therapists and physiotherapists, speech language therapists and others, not to miss anybody out, but you get the sense of that. But actually we wanted to just really give you the sense of the breadth, and that tier 1, that early intervention for prevention, the self-management bit, we think is so important that we've put that at the top, and really because we understand that most of the activity takes place at that level, and again that's demonstrated on the size of that tier. And really this is about all the work that we all do every day as part of our day in and day out jobs, supporting people to live the very best life that they can. And actually we even do that for ourselves. So all the self-care things we do, all the self-management we do to ensure that we're living a life where we're engaging in activities that are really important to us. We're doing things that we really enjoy, and we're doing things that actually keep us active and keep us well. And when we think about that in the context of, social care, then what is the role of social carers, of family, of the individuals themselves, to ensure that people are really living the life they want to live? And in doing that, what is the impact then that has on their well-being, and also preventing, whether it's a deterioration in mobility, preventing falls, preventing them becoming more dependent. So, I mean, in some ways we can think about this tier as almost like an approach. It's how we do things, and it's about enabling people to do things for themselves. So supporting people to do for themselves rather than necessarily us doing for them. So it would be really helpful to get your thoughts on that as we go into the discussion round about, what is the role of being able to support people to live the life they want to do and be able to do things in a way that promotes their independence. And I think more than that, because it is about that participation, it's about doing things that they really want to do. And a lot of that is about speaking to people, understanding where they're at, getting a sense of who the person is, because this is all very individualised and very personalised. So the things that might excite me, energise me and enthuse me to get involved in will be different from you. So again, thinking about, kind of care settings, what does that mean then in terms of those conversations that we might have with the people that we're working with, to understand what's important to them on a day-by-day basis. What is it they've done in the past? What would they be interested in the future? And really just that connection, and then working with them to help them to participate as much as possible. So I'm hoping that that'll give you the sense that rehabilitation is really broad, that we've all got a role to play, whether we are the person themselves, whether we are carers, therapists, family members. Hopefully we'll get a sense of actually what is the contribution that we can all play in rehabilitation going forward. Our next bit we want to go on is really think about what are the principles of good rehab, and Bryony is going to talk you through that. Thanks, Bryony.
Morning everyone, I'm Bryony. I'm one of the senior policy managers at Scottish Government, so I suppose one of those kind of projecty people. These shapes on the screen, we kind of decided that the approach to take with rehab was to come up with a set of principles for good rehab, and what we intend to do with these is kind of measure success. So anything we do on the rehab programme going forward, we'd like to be able to see that we're being able to measure it against these. So they are just a lot of words at the moment. Behind each of these, there's a bit of an explanation, a definition, some examples, but actually it's important for us that they do fit with every sector. So although we did a lot of consultation, we worked with lots of people to come up with them, I think it is important to make sure that they do make sense for you guys as well. For example, easy to access for every person. That would be your staff, you know, so is rehabilitation easy for you as a staff member to get for the people you look after? Is it easy for people to self-refer themselves? You know, there's so many parts to that, and I think the word easy, we try to keep it as simple as possible. But like I say, we're really keen to know if those actually do make sense for you in your day-to-day work. Flexible and skilled workforce, we'd love to know more about any sort of workforce concerns or things that you found, especially before the pandemic. I think we know that the pandemic's caused even more issues. Innovative and ambitious, you know, we want to make sure we're doing the absolute best. If you have ideas, please raise that. And, you know, this is obviously just a short session today, but we're really keen to hear more about rehabilitation ideas that you've got. Provided at the right time, I think that one, you know, could be particularly important in this context. How early in the pathway are people getting access to rehab? Integrated, that kind of goes back to the easy part. How do you even find these services? Do you have to go through health and social care? Do you have to go through other partners within the system? So I think really we'd just be keen to know how these feel for you, if they make sense. There's a lot more probably to it, but we've purposely just put up I always say hexagons, I'm not actually sure what shape this is, but we just wanted to put the shapes up so you could see the words and see if they do make sense and they do fit for your day-to-day working. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to add. You're on mute.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think that was really helpful, Bryony, and hopefully we can pick up during the conversation that people can give us some feedback and see what they feel in terms of the meaningfulness of the words to them. So thanks very much, Bryony, and happy just to hand back to Louise now.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, really taken by the broadness of the rehabilitation, and I guess right down to, you know, rehabilitation for myself, or pre-rehabilitation in terms of getting out and doing the things I want to do, and continuing to do those things on a daily basis so I can keep going, living the life we want to lead. Okay, well, what we're going to do next is we're going to ask you again on your phones, or sorry, if you joined a little bit later, in the chat function is a link to a QR code to scan with your telephone, or you can type it in a web address that you can type in. Anyway, with these, you've got me saying hexagons now, and I'm not sure if that's right either. With these principles that Beth and Bryony were speaking about, what we'd really like to know at this moment is kind of your experience of what's happening at the moment. So whether you agree or disagree, for example, that rehabilitation is easy to access for every person. And take it in its broad sense. So, for example, if you're working in a care home, whether everybody is encouraged and supported to do as much as they can for themselves, because that in itself is, you know, rehabilitation, as well as being able to access the skills and experiences of allied health professionals. Do you think that rehabilitation is provided at the right time? Do you agree or disagree that it's integrated with social care and health? Like Beth was saying, you know, whether can you self-refer? Can you call on somebody when you need more specialist help? So I'm going to give you a scale, and you can choose whether you agree or disagree, or strongly disagree or strongly agree for each of these. And don't worry too much about the the answers. It's just kind of a reflection, moment in time, current situation, what you think. So go on there and we'll see where people come to. And it should appear now on your phones. So do you agree or disagree? And that is the people experiencing this, whether people experience this aspect of good rehab at the moment. Be interesting to see what pops up. And if you're not sure, if you don't want to, you can just skip one of the answers. It gives the option to skip. And at the end, you press submit. So what's your experience at the moment? And I realise that things are very different these days in terms of all of the difficult and challenging life that we've all had at home and work over the last year and a half. So it's just a snapshot of what's working today. I'll just give another minute or two. I realise there's a lot to click on. Ooh, that's so interesting, isn't it, the way things move when people's votes go in? It's even more exciting than the Eurovision or something. Okay. Right. So let's have a look and see what we find out. We'll go to the first one, easy to access. And you can see that the average was 3, which is in the middle. However, what's kind of interesting is on either side, some people are saying, they disagree that it's easy to access, and some people say they agree it's easy to access. So obviously there's a different experience just depending on where you're working. Here's one. Generally, it's on the right-hand side. So folk generally agree that it's delivered by a flexible and skilled workforce, which is really nice because that's you guys. Provides at the right time. Again, there's a difference of experience in different places. And let's see, realistic and meaningful to the person. Again, different experiences, but so for example, 3 people put it in the center, saying that was realistic and meaningful to the person. Let's see, can I find the other one? It's difficult to see. 5 people, agreed, not strongly agreed, but agreed that it was delivered by, what happened was realistic and meaningful to the person. And I know in everything that we do, all of our work is all about people, and it's all about people living good lives. So that's a really interesting one to see that it's reflected up the curve. And here we have what happens with people. Is it innovative and ambitious? And I love this one because of course, no matter where we are in our life, what age we are, we want to feel that there's hope, that there's ambition for us in whatever we're able to do. So this innovative and ambitious one, again, it's just really a spread across all of them. And last one, is it integrated across the different sectors? Health, social care. Again, there's a spread of experiences right now, a spread of ideas about whether you agree or disagree that it's integrated. And in fact, this is one of the things that we're doing with this Growing a Good Life project that Care Inspectors is involved in, and the rehabilitation team here that we're connecting up with, because it is all about coming together and being even more integrated than we are at the moment. Would Beth or Brian or Heather like to pop in at this stage? Any comments? Any insights?
it just popped into the chat there, just wondering if it makes a difference where people are in the country in their experiences, you know, and it would be curious again if we think about where people on the call are actually living, to see if there's that kind of variation of experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one maybe to look at when we link up. Okay, so listen, thank you so much. That is so interesting, and it's really great to get a snapshot of what's happening at the moment, and very helpful to Bet and Bryony as they're going forward with rehabilitation plans. Now, we are, of course, the thing is, we know that there's such good work going on. We know that there's a really, in different care homes, in different organizations and so on, working with older people, that there's really good work going on. And it'd be lovely to hear maybe if there's 2 or 3 little stories or examples or thoughts that you were able to pop in to your phone. It would be really nice to hear what's happening at the moment that works well. And I know often when our inspectors go visiting different care services, we hear some fantastic stories about good work that's there to promote people to do as much as they can for themselves and living good lives. So maybe you have a story or a thought or an example. And again, we're not asking for the whole thing, just a couple of words or sentences, could be anything. Maybe you're opening up gardens at the moment to make sure that people are out and about. Please don't hide your light under a bushel. I know day to day there's going to be so many things that are going on. I was saying that we had, I had been in contact with some of our inspectors about how good lives have been promoted throughout the last while because things have been so difficult. And I've been collecting up some stories and putting those, we're putting them out at the moment every 1 week via our social media under sort of the Growing a Good Life hashtag. So you might be able to, you might see those if you're connected up with the Care Inspector on Twitter, in particular Twitter, Facebook, I think. And also we have a page called Growing a Good Life, and we're putting the stories there. And there's some really nice ones. So because there's not, oh, here we are. I didn't realize they were there. The image was hiding them. Sorry, I didn't actually see them. Bus trips. Oh, people getting out and about in bus trips. That must be amazing. And socially distanced exercise class. And yeah, keeping moving has really helped people. Getting back out into the community and going to church, connecting up with church communities. That must be so special. Able to spend more time in the garden, entertainment in the garden, and different models of care that include OT and OTAs, permanent members. Wow, that sounds amazing. It's something that would be really good to hear more. Tai Chi and Move It, and lots of tea and coffee and cake. That's absolutely something after my own heart. So you can see things popping up, which is so lovely, of all the really good rehab about doing things you want to do, getting connected, getting out there, moving. And I love those connections there into the community and going to church and bus trips. Again, really getting back out there, doing the things that matter to people and make a difference. Okay, now we're going to have a chance for some conversations now. And this is an invitation for you to have a chat. And we're in a difficult time, as I say, but this is about imagining a fantastic future. You know, maybe in 2025 or something like that. That we're in a place and we're having a look at the excellent rehabilitation that's been happening over the last while. So just imagine we're able to wave a magic wand, and COVID is gone, and people, families, care staff, communities, groups, third sector, allied health professionals are all seamlessly working together and focusing on people's ability to live well, to live healthy, to live good lives, whatever their age and stage of life may be. And in this future, all of these things that we talked about, you know, things are delivered by a flexible, skilled workforce at the right time, very realistic and ambitious for the people who are concerned. So let's have a bit of an imagination about what rehab would look like in the future. Like, what would people experience? What would families notice? In AHP, we saw a lovely example there of OT and OTAs actually as members of the staff. What would it be like if you're an allied health professional or an OT, whatever, connected up with care homes? What would that be like? And how would rehab be connected between care and health? How would the focus be kept on mattering to the people? So when you break into smaller groups, and Stephen is going to do that. Sorry, I forgot to mention Stephen's working in the background, keeping all of this going.
Hello.
When Stephen breaks into groups, there'll be a facilitator, and to help, we'll capture your thoughts, and just asking that the thoughts are captured in sentences, which I know are difficult if you're typing away, but just so that if you look at, you know, if we come back and look at this, that it makes sense to us, because sometimes it can be hard to remember what somebody was saying. And if you find it difficult to type, if you're the person who says, yeah, I'll do the typing, if you're younger than me, you'll probably find it better quicker typing on the phone, or of course you can also do it via the link on your computer. Righty-ho, so here is our question, which will come up on your phones, and Stephen you'll find yourself popped into a group in a wee minute, and then when the groups are finished, you'll find yourself coming back.
Yep. So I'm going to put you into groups now, folks. You don't need to do anything. And when you're ready to come out of the groups about 11:20, you don't need to do anything either. I'll just click a button and you'll be drawn back into the main room. So it'll just take me a minute to put you into the rooms. So just hold on a sec. Thanks.
Fantastic. Gosh, look, we've so many different things that are put here onto the slide. Heather, I don't know whether you've had a chance to actually look at what's here.
No, I haven't.
Discussions, but maybe there's ones. Maybe you'd like to have a look and
can you share it, Louise?
Pardon?
Can you share it?
Oh, it's not being shared.
No.
Oh, that's terrible. I beg your
That's
pardon.
all right. Well, you're sorting that bit out. I'll just wade in, because we had, and I'm imagining, like the other groups, we had a really, really great discussion, and I think it was just, it's so good to hear your voices from working in the sector and being able to, we had Bryony in our group, so to be able to feed that back directly to Bryony, to know that that's that direct link back into Scottish Government and folks that are looking to develop the policy around this. So, you know, Bryony's heard this, Bet will hear these things, and they'll be able to take this back to influence sort of how things are taken forward. So some of the, just sort of wrapping up, for, I know we're looking at time here, but, you know, there was lots of talk about that rehab potential word came up, you know, and setting expectations. So let's not limit people because we don't think they've got the potential. We might have to do things a little bit differently. And there was a fantastic story about getting somebody, you know, back up on their feet by using a different technique to do it, which I think is great. And we had, and my memory has lost me here, but we had, I think it was Marie, the OT, I'm thinking, could be wrong, but she described somebody that has been in a care home for 2 years who is now going home. Now that's a fantastic story. That potential there is huge. And I wonder how many people actually come into care homes at times of crisis, maybe when they've got a delirium, but have got that potential, but we don't have the expectation. We talked lots about the referral pathways of going in, so sometimes really focused on problems, and actually maybe we could get there ahead of time if we didn't wait till it became a huge problem. I'm just looking here, lots of talk about Kappa in our group, and I see it on here too, that Kappa really helped break down that fear about risk, and I think at the moment, I know with the level of oversight that care homes are experiencing from ourselves and the care inspectorate, from the nurse directors and the oversight groups, I know there is a fear around that. And then we're sort of saying, you know, let's get people up and moving and doing things. There can be a real fear that you're going to have an increase in falls, and that could stop people. So I think what we've got to do again with the Kappa principles is take them out of being a project and make them a way of life. How do we make this is the way we live, taking all those principles that Kappa went on. I'm looking down here for sort of that holistic approach, which I think is really important, to that health, well-being, stimulation, seeing the whole person. We talk about it all the time. I mean, you know, we've talked about person-centered care and seeing the whole person forever now, but actually, how do you do that with all the tasks that you have to do? And I think that's a bit of a challenge. We need to talk about realistically how you can manage all the tasks and things that you have to do, as well as being really person-centered. And there's a bit of implementation work that I think can be supported in that. Finding that better balance between that medical and clinical risk and living well. And I think that's it. You know, examples of staff scared to implement rehab when the person has an infection, for an example. Again, you know, can I do this? We heard a story of somebody suddenly being seen standing up, who people didn't think could stand. Now, is the immediate response to tell them to sit down, or do you actually look at that as potential and say, what can we do here? So there's lots of things for us to think about. I think these ideas here, many of these stories, they need to be on the Growing a Good Life page. We need to start sharing this. We had a few folks in our group who couldn't access the microphone. Again, we need to capture stories from everybody, so please keep in touch with us. Equipment came up, and that's one I'd like to pick up with Bet at some point, because I know that equipment is a really thorny issue here, particularly for independent providers. And I know there's a review going on, but I think we need to look at that piece. So great discussions. Thanks, everybody. This is the starting point. So there's going to be lots more coming up from here. So I'm going to pass you over to Louise and Bet, who are going to wrap things up.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Heather, for a quick whistle-stop tour, and we'll give you the connection to this so you can look back on this as well and see what happened. Now, that was Heather. Thank you very, very much. Now, I'm going to pass you on to Bet to just have some concluding thoughts and next steps. But in the meantime, it'll be really helpful if you were able to give us some feedback, because we're going to be running one of these next week as well. And what worked well today for you, and what would be even better the next time. That would be really helpful if you were able to do that. So I'll leave that up so it's on your phones, but in the meanwhile, I'll pass back to Bet.
Well, thanks very much, and it's been such a energising and interesting and really encouraging session, just to hear what folks have got to say. And I think the important thing, Louise, and I'm sure that this is, you know, what you would want, is for people to make sure that this isn't just a one-off event, that actually we're going to take the information and actually do something with it, because folks have got ideas, and you know, some of the things that are in practice just now are amazing, and actually how do we take them, and you know, what are the opportunities to roll some of the things out across the sector. So I think that's the main thing for me, is for people to understand that this is it's not a start of a journey, because you've had CAP and you've had so many things, but it's a continuation of it. and that we'll take what folks have said today, we'll have a look at it and where there's opportunities to do some work, and whether it's new improvement work or whether it's that kind of spread of good practice, we will do that. And I guess engage with people as we go, Louisa, I guess is what you would want us to say. I think one of the other things that we talked about is that we'd be really keen to hear from people who really want to be part of the work and to engage with it and to lead on some of it. So I guess to make themselves known, and folks have contributed so well this morning that it would be good if, if they were keen for them to step forward and just let us know who they are and what they would like to contribute, because I guess it's a collaboration and nobody's going to do two. It's doing together, I guess, in terms of trying to improve rehabilitation for people within who have access to the care sector. So I guess that's all for me, just to say it's been amazing for me to hear what people got to say. I'm really interested in people's contributions, and just to thank you, Louise and Heather, for inviting Brian and I to be part of it.
So thank you so much, everybody. And hopefully, Steve, when you filled out your form at the beginning, you said that we were able to contact you following this, and we'd really like to do that. We'd really like to keep in contact and connection, as Beth was saying. And listen, I just so want to say, so appreciate your time here today and everybody's continuing good work. And it's so lovely to connect up with you. And we hope to see you at some more events, and we'll let you know all about them. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. All right. Cheerio, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Goodbye, folks. Bye.
Goodbye from me.